You are the face of the community.
With what they experienced during colonization.
And what led you to take on this position?
What is your biggest goal?
My story is a bit different.
How did these officials view the Marshallese community?
We have come a long way.
Do you feel comfortable here? Do you feel at home? Today, on this episode of MEI, the podcast, we have our very special guest, Consul General Anjanette Davis-Anjel.
Yago and welcome to episode 4 of MEI, the podcast. We're your hosts, Marcina Lungarin.
And I'm Matthew John, Project Specialist at the Marshallese Educational Initiative, a nonprofit based in Springdale, Arkansas. Today, on this episode of MEI, the podcast, we have our very special guest, Consul General Anjanette Davis-Anjel. Consul General Anjanette has a 10-year career in the Republic of the Marshall Islands Foreign Service. She is skilled in international relations, diplomacy, protocol, negotiations, policy development, and administration. Anjanette serves as the Consul General, or CG, for Arkansas in the Midwest.
Thank you for joining us here today. How are you doing today?
Thank you for having me. I'm good. Thank you. How are you both?
We're good.
Yeah.
It's the weather is really nice, so that's a major plus.
Yeah.
So you've been in Arkansas how long now?
I believe 6 months now.
What is your favorite thing to do? Or what is your favorite restaurant?
I don't think I have a favorite restaurant yet, but I do go to, what's the name of that place down?
Which one?
It's
on Emma?
Rain.
Oh, that's a good place.
They
Yeah.
have good sushi there.
Mhm.
I love that place.
Yeah.
I love that place.
How about them hogs? Arkansas Razorbacks.
Are you a Razorback fan now?
I guess.
Yeah, usually we always say that once you come into Arkansas, you're an automatic Razorback fan.
Well, we're very glad to have you. We're honored finding out this is your very first podcast that you've been in. It's just an honor to have you on our show today.
You're welcome.
Before discussing your work as Consul General for Arkansas in the Midwest, I'd like to discuss your previous work and educational background. You studied at Tom Kong University in Taiwan, focusing on global politics and economics. How did these studies shape your understanding in international relations?
Well, studying in Taiwan was really eye-opening for me. I was privileged to learn international relations from a different perspective. I say this because growing up in the Marshall Islands, our education system is heavily influenced by the American way of thinking. So I think like I said, I was privileged to be able to learn from a different perspective. So it has changed the way I think and kind of, like I said, opened my eyes to different ways of looking at international relations.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
In Taiwan, can you talk about your experience there? I mean, I'm pretty sure I've always wanted to go to
Me
Taiwan.
too,
And
yeah.
so what are some of the cool things or fun things that you did in Taiwan?
Well, one thing I love about Taiwan is you have something to do every day. I go to work every day, but on my free time, there are, the night markets open really late. So if you work late and you still want to go out with your family, you go to the night market. So I love the night market, and just the people and culture there is very different from the Marshall Islands and, of course, here in the United States.
Mm-hmm. You studied environmental law in Japan. What motivated you to pursue that degree?
Well, my story is a bit different. When the scholarship program was introduced or new, we were at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. It's our job to look for applicants. So when it opened, we really tried our best to recruit, look for somebody to take on this wonderful opportunity. So long story short, nobody applied, and I was asked to apply for the scholarship. I mean, it's a great opportunity. We didn't want it to go to waste. So, and I was applying. I was juggling with my workload and with my application. I actually did not realize that I picked environmental laws until I was done with my work and then opened my application. And then I was like, oh, what? I'm studying environmental law.
Given that you grew up in the Marshall Islands, was it really easy to, get into international studies, or what is the process of a high school student or a high school student that's wanting to study internationally?
Well, there are a lot of opportunities for Marshallese students if they want to pursue higher education, especially in international relations. We do have scholarship from Taiwan, Japan, and a lot of these countries that we have diplomatic ties with. And I believe the United States also, I mean, of course, universities here in the United States offer courses in international relations. So it is really easy. We do post a lot of these scholarship opportunities on the ministry's Facebook, and we also share with the scholarship office in the Marshall Islands, and we also try to share them with our contacts.
Do you find that Marshallese students in the United States, are they able to have these opportunities as well? And if so, do you see a big group of those applying for these opportunities?
Yes. In fact, there are a lot of Marshallese kids in the United States that are under the RMI scholarship.
Okay.
And we have several students that applied and have graduated schools in Taiwan that applied for the Taiwan scholarship. Yeah. And Japan, I'm not sure if I don't think there has been any Marshallese that lives in the United States that has applied for. But we do have several scholarship opportunities. So I hope that they can apply for these. Yeah.
No, I think that's wonderful. MEI, the mission is to, raise awareness and have these students, obtain educational attainment and pursue higher education. And so I love that there's so many scholarship opportunities for the Marshallese students who grew up here, but also back at home as well. And so you served as Deputy Chief of Mission at the Marshall Islands Embassy in Taiwan. And for those who may not be familiar with the role, can you please tell us a little bit about your role as DCM?
Well, I served as both the assistant and the chief advisor to the ambassador. And so basically I'm the second person in command, I would say. And I provide advice to the ambassador, and I conduct public diplomacy. That's one thing that we work on a lot is public diplomacy.
And what were some key takeaways or lessons from your experience while you were working in Taiwan?
People-to-people exchange, cultural sensitivity, and mutual respect. People-to-people exchange, we do organize and hosted a lot of exchange programs and cultural events. And I saw firsthand how those experiences can build genuine and lasting bonds. Relationship that go beyond formal diplomacy.
And what led you to take on this position as RMI Consul General of Arkansas?
Well, as a foreign service officer, I serve at the pleasure of the government. So when my contract ended in Taiwan, the position here was vacant. So that's what led me to Arkansas.
Well, we're glad you're here.
Yeah.
I feel like we were there was a standstill of like, oh, who's gonna be the next CG? Like, I hope it's a really cool person, and you are a really cool person.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like you're just so easy to get along with. From the first time I met you, like you didn't just stay put, like you went straight into action. You
Mhm.
wanted to be with the community, you wanted to be beside us, and you wanted to go all around. And so it really takes a person who's really for service, and that's exactly who you are. So we're
Yeah.
honored to have you, serve in Arkansas and in the Midwest. And so since the end of last year, the Marshallese government, especially through the RMI Embassy and its consulates, have been actively engaged in outreach efforts across the U.S. What are the objectives behind these outreach initiatives, and why is it so important for the Marshallese community?
Well, as you are aware, we had two, and thankfully we now have three with the recent opening of the Army Consulate in Oregon.
Mhm.
So our goal is to reach all the Marshallese population throughout the United States. And what we want to do is we aim to educate on the newly amended COFA agreement, and especially on the services that are now available for Marshallese people, and also to listen and address the people's concerns and issues. So
Mhm.
I believe it is very important for our community because, like I said, we only have three consulates, and us bringing the service to them I think they really appreciate it.
Is there any future plans on more consulates being open across the U.S., or just focus on the three just now?
I am not sure, but it took a while for us to finally open the consulate in Oregon. We have been trying to open that consulate for a very long time, but that finally happened. So
That's exciting. And now Eldon, he's the CG over there, and he was the CG here, and he was also really great. And so I couldn't think of a better person to be CG in the Pacific Northwest.
yes, he is awesome.
Yeah. I always thought, like, before we found out you were gonna be CG, I was like, man, whoever's coming next, like they got some pretty big shoes to fill. But then you just like right in there.
Jump right into it, yeah.
I understand that the delegation also meets the U.S. officials at the local and national levels during the outreach events. How did these officials view the Marshallese community?
Well, I mean, firstly, we meet with the governors, the mayors, and the service providers. So in some states, they are really familiar with the Marshallese people, and they do really appreciate the Marshallese communities there because they express that we have contributed a lot to these respective communities. So they love having the Marshallese in their areas.
Mm-hmm. What's that like at the national level? Like, has there ever been like a situation where they didn't know what the Marshall Islands were?
Maybe not know where the Marshall Island is, but not understanding our unique status in the United States. Yes. So that's also why we meet with these service providers and these community leaders. We want to make sure that they know about the Marshall Islands and our status in the United States as per the COFA agreement.
Have you ever come across, as CG, have you ever come across an instance where you just feel like it's just a lot of pressure all at once because, you are the face of the community, basically like the back door to the Marshallese community. And I can't imagine like all the pressure from all sides, from back home, from the community within herself, and then from the community members. And so I've always wondered if there are times where you feel like, it's just too much.
Well, definitely, yes.
Mm.
But I am very honored, privileged to have a lot of people who are standing behind me, next to me, that has been a great help throughout my journey here in Arkansas. I mean, the work here is very different from my work in Taiwan, so I am very fortunate to have that pillar of support from the staff at the office and from church leaders and from community leaders and folks like yourselves.
So, CG, what could Marshallese community members do to improve relations between our community and the general public?
Aside from the consulate going around to meet with the local leaders, it also takes the community to introduce the Marshall Islands and the Marshallese culture. So I think we have to attend these public events, events that are being hosted for the public. So we should not just attend, but also be a part of these events and go out more, I would say, engage with the local community.
Right. And I feel like that's what the community here is like always trying to do. They want to be very inclusive and make sure that the Marshallese community is involved in these spaces. But what I see, like view for myself, is that we're not most of the community is not engaged. Do you think it's because of that language barrier, or it's just because they just don't understand what these events entail?
Well, a lot of us living in the United States, we're working, and I think people are busy with their own lives, and I think that's why that could be another reason why they're not participating in these events. And language barrier has been there for a very long time, but we have come a long way. I know that from visiting other states, they're just starting to build the Marshallese communities there. But here in Arkansas, we're very well situated here, I would say.
It's really unique to go out to public and you see 3 languages now. So it's like English, Spanish, Marshallese. And so that's really cool.
My first visit to Arkansas, I was meeting up a cousin at a laundromat here in Springdale. And then, I don't know, I was so proud to see Marshallese being written on the wall.
No, you know what's crazy? Because the first time that I moved here back in 2011, it was the laundromat that I saw Marshallese, and I'm like, oh my goodness, that's really cool.
That is cool.
That's my language up there.
Right, United States, such a big country, and you see notice in Marshallese hanging at a laundromat. That says a lot.
And it does say a lot because just in the school district alone, there's 72 plus languages spoken. And so to have Marshallese be, the top 3, I would say, like, it's really amazing because we have really come a long way in terms of like advocacy and, community work and really getting our people on the map and getting to where we are today. And so,
So we went to Pocahontas alongside you and a couple of other community members to bring some of the resources that the community members here in Springdale have that they might not have access to. And I just want to ask if there's any information or advice with the community on staying safe and proactive.
Well, we are all ambassadors to our country, so I would say to lead by example and be good citizens. Follow the law. Yeah.
That's a big one. Follow the law, people.
And speaking about leadership, and I kind of want to tie this to the younger generation. And so, as you know, our organization focuses much of our work on raising awareness about the nuclear legacy. what would you say to the younger generation who know very little about it?
Well, as you mentioned, you guys do a lot of outreach, educational events on these, on nuclear legacy.
Mhm.
So I would advise the younger ones to attend your events. It is very important to know about your country and your country's history.
Why is it important that we pass down the knowledge of the past, and why should we young people care?
Well, nuclear legacy is a very important part of the Marshall Islands history. I mean, until today, we still tie that to our foreign policy or even national policies in the Marshall Islands. So, in order for someone to really know and understand the Marshall Islands, they should know the history behind the Marshall Islands, even our relationship with the United States is also tied to the nuclear legacy in the Marshall Islands as well.
Yeah, I really resonate with that because I myself grew up not knowing that we had a shared nuclear legacy with the United States. It wasn't until I turned 20. I was 20 years old when I found out that we had this history with them. And, at first I questioned my grandparents. I'm like, hey, like, Boo Jama, like, why didn't you share this with me? And then same thing to my parents. I questioned them. Why didn't they share that? And the common thing was that they didn't want to relive that experience or talk about that trauma, which is understandable because going in, diving into it and studying it and really finding out truly what our history was, it was totally understandable why they didn't want to bring that up again.
Yes, I think it's the same with not with the with what they experienced during colonization in our country. Growing up, I never heard any stories, or my grandparents would never talked about. I think it was too painful for them that they don't want to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's really interesting because like you grew up in the Marshall Islands. So when I did get the opportunity to go back to the Marshall Islands for the first time, when we have discussions with teachers, they said that they don't really talk about this in school. And so I found that weird because I'm just like, oh, but you were there in the Marshall Islands. Like, why isn't this history taught? Like you would think that it would be taught, but I just found that.
Yeah, I had like a similar experience to you, but it was like different at the same time. So I grew up in Oregon in like a very small community. I was the only Marshallese kid in my community. I grew up thinking I was Mexican because my stepdad was Mexican. So I was like, okay, I'm half Mexican, half Hawaiian. Like
half Hawaiian.
Yeah. So like I didn't know. Like my mom never talked about it, but she would speak Marshallese at home, like on the phone with her parents. And my friends would be like, what is she saying? I'm like, bro, I got no clue. Like, I got no idea. And then I come to Arkansas because we wanted to move with our family. And then I see everybody. I'm like, oh, so I'm not Mexican. Like, I get it. That makes more sense. And then I asked my grandparents about the nuclear legacy. I'm like, why you never said anything? They're like, you never asked. So sat down, had a conversation about it. And that's how I know.
And I think talking about, the nuclear legacy, I feel like as young adults, as youth, it really is, especially working in this type of organization, it's really important that we really do continue to talk about why sharing our shared nuclear history is so important, not only through the schools or through workshops, but also creating spaces where we can share what we know through art. And so whether that be through painting or through music, poetry, I feel like certain individuals or youth, they have different ways of expression. And so creating these spaces for them, I feel like it's really important that we continue to do so.
Yes, and that's exactly what you guys are doing. And I'm very proud of you guys.
Thank you. We try.
Now I'm honored for real.
And so, outside of your professional life, what are some of your interests? Or do you have a favorite hobby?
At this time and age, I don't know if hobby is still, but I'm very busy, so I mean we're all busy. Everyone is busy. But I do try to do some sports activities. I try to play tennis when I have time, and but most
I
of
love
my free
tennis.
time I try to spend it with my daughter.
And I think that's super important. Did you know that Northwest Arkansas is the number one biking nation?
I did not know
Yeah,
that.
that's what a lot of people actually travel from outside of state to bring their bikes here just to train on the trails.
Mhm.
I
So
should invest on a bike then.
Yeah. Let's do it. Let's go biking.
and then do you have any family members here in Arkansas?
I do have family members here in Arkansas. I have my aunt from my dad's side, and my sister lives in Arkansas. Well, I came with my husband and daughter.
I remember going through my Instagram, like just people posting stories, and I clicked on one of my friends, and then I saw you in the picture. I was like, oh, I know who she's related to.
Well, we're all connected one way or another.
Connected by the ocean for
Yeah.
sure.
And reflecting on your journey, what piece of advice would you offer your younger self? You mentioned talking to your younger self in the past or earlier on in this interview. Just want to know what kind of advice would you give yourself, like younger self?
So looking back, I tell my younger self to be open to the unexpected and to trust the journey. I mean, living by myself right after high school, there were a lot of things that I did not expect to see or expect to experience that were very new to me. So I think that what I would tell my younger self.
And so CG, getting on that, did you ever envision your path leading you to a career in diplomacy?
Honestly, no. I just went to school, graduated, came home, open to any position that was opened, and the position at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs was open at that time. So I applied, and here I am.
Yeah, I mean, if you didn't jump on those opportunities,
Yes.
and I feel like that's super important is to, get out of your comfort zone. And if there's opportunities out there to take it full course, because you never know when those opportunities might arise again.
Yes. When I did my first speech at one of the universities in Taiwan, they were asking me to give an advice to the students. And one thing I remember that I told them that was education is key to everything, and it will take you places. And I guess that's what
true.
it did for me.
Do you feel like, considering all the places that you've been to or lived in, do you feel comfortable here? Like, do you feel at home?
I mean, Arkansas is definitely different from Asia. I mean, I lived in Japan and in Taiwan, and I've also traveled to Europe and some other countries in Asia. And Arkansas is different. And I mean, these places, these other countries are different from each other as well. But I've learned to appreciate the differences, especially the unique culture of each countries that I visited in Arkansas. I've learned to also appreciate the people and life here in Arkansas, especially the people.
Northwest Arkansas is actually pretty diverse. Some people say it's not, but when you really immerse yourself into the community, you see there's so many people from so many different countries, and so that's what makes Northwest Arkansas so unique. And so, you studying in being in Japan and Taiwan, so does that mean Japanese and Mandarin?
When people ask me what languages do I speak, I say I speak broken English, broken Marshallese, broken Chinese.
That's so me. I'm broken in everything.
Oh man, I got the craziest broken Marshallese. I feel
How do you say hello in Mandarin?
It's ni hao.
Ni hao.
Ni hao. I remember in Pocahontas, we were going out to dinner with one of the families out there or the community, and at the end, she made me and Marino get up and
Really? In Marshallese?
She's
Oh
like,
my gosh, how was that?
get up and do it now.
Yes, like before this podcast, I was asking if I'm going to speaking in English or in Marshallese because I would love for your generation to learn and love to speak in Marshallese.
I would love a podcast. I would love a podcast in Marshallese, actually.
Yeah, actually. So generation, let's lock in. Let's learn our native
Lock
tongue.
in. Speaking to your younger self. Just lock it in right now. So what is your biggest goal as Consul General?
My biggest goal, I think my goal right now is to, over the past few months, there has been a lot of unexpected events.
Mm-hmm.
So I have been concentrating on those, but I shouldn't. But I think one of my biggest goal right now is to try to encourage or have young Marshallese like yourself to go back to the Marshall Islands and give back to the Marshall Islands.
Most definitely.
I was hoping, well, maybe I shouldn't talk about it because it's in the work in progress, but hopefully soon there will be a program designed for Marshallese to go back to the Marshall Islands and work in the Marshall Islands and come back if they want to come back, but at least to work and experience the life in the islands.
Yeah, that'd be an awesome thing. Like a bridge back home. That'd be so cool.
And I think that's the thing. It's like with the RMI scholarship specifically, it's where you go to school here, but then you'd have to go back home for how many years?
2 years.
2 years.
If I'm
And
not
so,
mistaken.
you know, the first time that I went back to the Marshall Islands, I didn't want to leave.
Me too.
I didn't want to leave. I was there for 2 weeks and I was so sad coming back home. And so, you know, I really do. I also want to encourage the youth to really take advantage of this scholarship because, you know, although our country might not be, you know, developing as fast paced as the United States or other countries, you know, but we're getting there. And I think that's why it's so important that we take what we learn here and implement that into our home country. And so I think when people look at it, they're just like, oh man, like I have to go back home and work. But the bigger vision is take what you learn here and implement it back at home because, you know, as I said earlier, it's slower development, but we're getting there.
I'm a musician, part of a band called Mark Harmony. And I just want to know what song you are currently listening to that resonates with you.
Well, I have 2 songs. Well, sometimes 3, 4, but I'm gonna just name 2 songs that I listen to every morning on my way to work. So I'm either listening to Anjanette. I don't know if you know that song. Yeah. So my family sings that song at all occasions.
Right. Same.
Yes. So I listen to that song and the Lord is my shepherd. Those 2 songs, I think they help me get by. They they do help me get by every day.
Sometimes you do need those songs, you know, to start your day.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it gives clarity,
Yes,
you know, when you go into the day with peace of mind, knowing that you have to tackle so many things once you walk through the doors.
A reminder to myself to always stay humble and, you know.
Yes. Especially community work. It's like you go through those, you're like, you got this. You got this. Whoever comes to those doors, you got this.
Power of music, man.
So, what message do you have for the class of 2025? You know, they are graduating. Our seniors of class 2025 are graduating this Saturday. And so, what message would you like to give to the seniors?
Well, I would love to give the same message that I gave when I gave my speech at the university in Taiwan. Well, first of all, this is your first step into the real world, and continue your educational journey, because education is the key to your future and your own security. And like I mentioned, education take you places, and I know education will take you somewhere if you continue to pursue your higher education.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Education is the key to more opportunities. And so, you know, a lot of the seniors that you met during Youth May Day, was that your first Youth May Day, or is that
Yes, that was my first Youth May Day.
What did you think of it?
I think you guys did an awesome job. Pat yourselves on the back.
I had that help with Harbor Islander Club, Springdale Islander clubs.
Yes. So I mean, it is through these kind of activities and events that can motivate the youth. So I think you guys did a very wonderful job, and it's important to always include the youths in any activities, even if it's May Day or any event. It is important to include the youths because they are the future.
And we were definitely honored that you stayed throughout the whole. I mean, we didn't want to leave. We had to go to a wedding, and we didn't want to leave because it was just getting super fun.
Yeah.
But I love Youth May Day. I really think that it's a safe space, you know, for students to come out, have fun, be with other community members or be with their peers. And so I love that their parents and grandparents always come out to support them as well. And so I find that super important.
Yes, I mean, support is very important to youths. And I mean, I think that's why I chose to stay until the end of the program. I just wanted to show support to the youths and just being there for them.
Finally, as we unfortunately have to wrap up this conversation, what is the biggest takeaway you hope listeners will gain from our discussion today?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway I'd hope listener leave with is the importance of connection, whether it's between nations, cultures, or individual. I mean, my journey, going into different countries after graduating from high school, I did connected with a lot of people, and I think that's why I am who I am today. With all of that.
Well, CG, we were truly honored, you know, to have you here today. And as a woman and a young adult, I really do look up to you, you know, reading your bio and everything that you've done. We've done as a youth all the way up till now and to where you are today. Like, I really do think that you are such a prominent and important figure within our community. And so it's just an honor to have you here, sit with us, because you are a busy woman. And so we thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be with us today.
Thank you. It means a lot coming from another female, and thank you for having me.
Definitely learned a thing or two. I'm sure that everybody here has a better understanding of who you are now and what you do for us. And I'm sure that they'll be very grateful the next time they see you.
Well, thank you very much.
Well, that concludes our episode for today. Be sure to follow our YouTube and Spotify and subscribe to MEI the podcast. We want to thank the Honorable Consul General Anjanette for joining us today. We're your hosts, Marcina and Matthew, and as always, we'll catch you next time.